Hello and welcome back. This is another Algebra 1 video, and in this video, we're going to be solving and graphing some absolute value equations. Now, I've done a previous video on solving absolute value equations, so we're going to do that in this video as well, but we're also going to graph the solutions. Okay, here is the first one we're going to do together. We're going to solve the absolute value of q plus 4 equals 4 to find out what q is equal to. Now, many times during these absolute value equations, you end up getting two answers for q, and that's perfectly fine. So what you want to do first is check and make sure that your absolute value is isolated on one side of the equation. And in this case, it is, because on the left side of the equation, all we see is absolute value of q plus 4. So once this is isolated, this absolute value, I'm going to separate it and write it twice. So I'm going to write q plus 4 here and q plus 4 over here. Now what I'm going to do is take the number that it's equal to, or the expression, if that was an expression, and I'm going to write the positive version and the negative version. I can put the positive version over here and the negative version over here. The reason we do that is because when we have absolute value, we're looking for the distance from 0, which means it can be positive or negative inside those bars. So we don't know which one it is, and we have to go with both options. Now we're going to solve each equation separately. So q plus 4 equals 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides to get that solution. Cancel. Q equals 0. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. Cancel that out. Q equals -8. So I have two possible solutions for q. Q could equal 0 or -8. So what I'm going to do is draw a number line. I just have to make sure that it includes both 0 and -8. And then what I'm going to do is put a dot on -8 and a dot on 0. So if you're asked to graph it, that's all you have to do. Now you might be thinking about inequalities and greater than or less than and all that kind of stuff, but you don't need to worry about that here. All we're doing is just simply putting it on a number line. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to solve this absolute value equation for the variable r. We're first going to check to make sure that the absolute value expression is isolated, and it looks like it is on the left side because it's completely by itself. So that's what I'm going to write twice. I'm going to write r minus 7 and r, oops, I almost put equals, oops, r minus 7. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take the number that's over here, and I'm going to write the positive version of 1 and the negative version of 1. Then I'm going to solve them both separately to find out what the two possible values for r could be. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides over here. That will cancel, and that will give me r equals 8. And on this side, I still have to add 7 to both sides. That will cancel, but on this side, I'm going to end up with 6 because -1 plus 7 is 6. So that means r could equal 8 or 6. So if I had to graph that on a number line, I need to make a number line that included 6 and 8, and then I would just put the two dots on there. So this would be my final answer. Okay, here's our next one. Again, I need to check first to make sure that the absolute value or the expression inside is completely isolated. And it is, because on the right side, that's all we have. So I'm going to go ahead and write that twice. I'm going to write 3w minus 63. And over here, I'm also going to write 3w minus 63. Over here, I'm going to take the number and I'm going to write the positive version, and then I'm going to write the negative version. You might be wondering, does it matter which one you do where? And it doesn't. As long as you have one equation that has the negative version and one equation that has the positive version. So I'm going to start by adding 63 to both sides here. This will cancel. This will be 3w equals 69. Then I would need to divide both sides by 3 and cancel that, so that w equals 23. So we've got one value of w, and that would be 23. On this side, I also need to add 63 to both sides. This will cancel, and I'll get 3w still. But now I need to do a negative 6 plus 63. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do that with the calculator real quick. But if you're curious about how to do that, or you feel a little rusty on that skill, I suggest checking out some previous videos I've made on adding and subtracting integers. Okay, so we've got 57. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. That'll leave W over here. And then 57 divided by 3 is 19. So again, if you're like a little rusty on dividing 57 by 3, check out a previous video I've done on dividing multi-digit numbers probably. All right, so here are two solutions. W equals 23 or it equals 19. So when you make that number line, you just have to make sure you include 19 and 23. Now, if you want to make tick marks and label numbers in between, it's totally fine. But I like to just kind of put what I need on there. Then I'm going to put the dots on there, and that would be my answer. Okay, here is our next one. We have absolute value of Q minus 290 plus 2 equals 22. So in the previous ones we've done, the absolute value expression has been isolated already. Here's an example of what it looks like when it has not been isolated. So before we write the expression twice, we need to subtract 2 from both sides to get that away from the absolute value expression. So that means that the absolute value of Q minus 290 is going to be equal to 20 instead of 22. Now I can write Q minus 290 twice, Q minus 290. And then on this one, I can do the positive version of 20. And on this one, I can do the negative version of 20. Okay, so I need to add 290 to both sides, 290. Cancel that out so that I have Q equals, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 290 to 20, and I'm going to end up with 310. Okay, on this side, I'm also going to do plus 290 and plus 290. This cancels, so I've got Q over here, and negative 20 plus 290 is going to end up being 270. So those are my two answers for Q. It's going to either be 310 or 270. So if I need to graph those, I'm going to make a number line that includes 270 and 310 in the right order. Put some dots on there, and then that would be it. Okay, here is our last example for today's video. We're going to take the absolute value of b plus 6, and we're going to solve it when it equals 4. So we first need to check to make sure that the absolute value is isolated. In this case, it is. So we're going to go ahead and do b plus 6 twice. So that's b plus 6. And then the number that it's equal to, I'm going to distribute the positive version and the negative version here. Now I'm going to solve each equation separately to find out what the two values of b could be. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides here, because that's the opposite of adding 6. I end up with b equals negative 2. On this side, I do the same thing. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, cancel that out, so I end up with b equals negative 10. So those are my two values for b. They're either going to equal negative 2 or negative 10. So if I need to do a number line, I just need to make sure it includes negative 2 and negative 10, and then I can go ahead and put those dots on the number line to show where the two solutions are. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope to see you in another video soon.